And so the way when I got into the relationship, when I started to open up relationship, I only knew how to do a relationship one way, is you get in deep and you just like completely embrace it all and just like be in it and, and connect at such a depth. And now after 3 years of doing it, I'm learning that every person's relationship is unique.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 359. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have an amazing conversation with Pinky. As you'll see, it's kind of a theme the last few weeks. 2 weeks ago, we talked to Pinky's husband and partner, Anthony. And last week, we talked to Ava, who's Pinky's metamor. And the three of them together started the podcast earlier this year called 3 Shades of Grey. So really excited to bring you Pinky's story today in all of her glory.
Yes, this is an amazing conversation. Lively, full of energy,
yes,
enthusiasm, and all of the things. So we're super excited about that. And yeah, Pinky has an incredible story. She was born and raised in a religious, conservative culture where women were really taught to not have a voice or really speak up for themselves at all. Found herself in relationships that really reinforced that. And over the last few years has just been really doing a ton of incredible work to figure out who she really is, what she really wants out of life, and how she can go and get that. And so it's a beautiful story of sort of, I don't know, the way that we've described it at times, and we've talked to people on the show of like fixing the car as it's driving down the road. And I think Pinky is like the embodiment of this, because as you'll hear her talk about, patience are not really one of the things that she was born with or ever really acquired. So there wasn't a whole lot of like, we'll pull the car over and work on it. We're just going to keep on driving while we fix. And it's a really great, great story. So thank you, Pinky, for coming on, sharing your story. And thank you to Ava and Anthony as well for coming on. And just to look ahead to next week, we're bringing all three of them on together to talk about what their V dynamic looks like and how they make that work. So without much further ado, we'll jump into, important note.
Yes.
If you want to learn more about Pinky and 3 Shades of Grey and their podcast, all of the links to that are in the show notes, which you can find at our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the podcast tab or down in your podcast player below. And
now, for anyone who's a premium subscriber, we will jump into the interview with Pinky right now. And for anyone else, we do have a few announcements. First up, as usual, if you're not familiar with a premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front, but don't worry, you still get important dates in the outro. To sign up for the premium subscription, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage. It's only $4 a month.
Yep. And those important dates that Emma's raving about, the next one coming up is actually tomorrow.
Woohoo!
That would be Thursday, September 26th.
2024.
We are bringing back our virtual meet and greets, now rebranded as our virtual speed friending events. We do these on Zoom. We do them once a month. We took the summer off this year. We've been taking the summers off to, let our hair down and relax a little bit.
From the virtual meet and greets.
From the virtual meet and greets. But they're back, and they're back with a passion, and we're super excited about that. So if you would like to learn more and join us, you can do so by heading over to our website, which you've already heard about, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. And there's actually a banner right at the top that tells you exactly how to join. When you click on it, you'll learn a little more information. But it's really 2 hours of you and us and a whole bunch of people from around the world getting to know each other. We ask you a question. We put you in a Zoom breakout room with a couple other people. You talk about that question for a few minutes. We scramble the rooms, ask a new question, send you away, and you do that over and over as you get to meet a whole bunch of people and have a great time.
It's super fun. And don't worry, if you're listening, you're like, oh, darn, it's past September 26th. I missed it. Don't worry, there will be another one. So go over to our website and check out the date for the upcoming one and sign up and join us then.
You don't want to miss it.
Nope.
All right. The other thing we want to remind you about, if you're looking for a little more consistent community in your life, we've got you covered.
We do. Over on the community tab of our website, you can scroll down and read all about our virtual community. We do a monthly community discussion calls and men's and women's group calls. And it's an incredible way to really get support, meet community, make friends. We have over 300 people in there supporting each other every single day, and we highly encourage you to check it out. We also, just a plug, just finished a few weeks ago an in-person retreat for our virtual community, and we do those occasionally as well. It was amazing, and so just a little more incentive to go and check that out.
Yeah, I will just say, people have been telling us for the last couple of weeks, like how amazing it was, how many, like they took their virtual friendships, which again, you're in this online platform all day, every day, interacting with people, supporting people, getting support for yourself, and just having a great time. And then you get to come in person a couple of times a year, and you get to just sort of take it to the next level. So we'd love to have you check it out. You can find out more information on the community tab of our website. Also, if you come to the virtual meet and greet tomorrow, you'll actually meet a good chunk of people there are part of our community. So it's a good little teaser, a little taste.
Yes.
So I'd love to have you check it out. And we hope to see you over there.
The last thing we wanted to remind you about in this little intro is our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. Again, over on our website, go to the resources tab. Using the links there does support the show. Thank you so much for doing that. And you get $10 off making a 10-panel test, only $129. Using stdcheck.com is a really simple, discreet way to get tested for STIs. It's a service Finn and I use. We've been using it for years. You've been hearing us talk about it for years. Go check it out. We encourage you to do so.
We wouldn't tell you about it if we didn't love it. That's our promise to you. And I just say too, all of the things that we told you about up front here are things that we absolutely love. And they're things that help support the show so we can keep bringing you this podcast week after week after week at no cost. And we love doing that, and we don't want to stop. So thank you to everybody for your support and for being a part of the community and for being amazing.
Yes. And a quick reminder, reach out to us, send us a voicemail, send us an email over on the contact page of our website. We would love to hear from you, whether you would like to come on the podcast or if you just have general questions or comments for us, please reach out to us.
And with that, we're going to jump into the interview with Pinky, and we will see everybody else on the other side.
Let's go.
Welcome to the podcast today, Pinky. We're super excited to talk. We can tell nobody can see this, but you're lit up like a Christmas tree. You're smiling and you're so excited to be here. Apparently, you've maybe listened to the show before. I don't know if that's true or not, but we're excited to have you here, and we can tell you're excited to be here as well. So welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Pinky. I've heard one of the podcasts a while ago where they say that it's important to have playfulness in a relationship. And one of the playfulness that come from me that I've heard on a podcast, they talked about that you should give pet names. And my husband taught me the difference between a pet name and a nickname. Being a foreigner, I said to him a nickname, and he's like, yeah, let's do pet name. So if you want, I can tell you the difference. Pet name is more, could be in a relationship format of any kind. And nickname is mostly when you're a child and you're in the backyard, it could be a negative connotation to it. So he said, can you just stay away from the negative part? So I named him Brain, and I named myself Pinky, because if anybody, I'm not the spring chicken I am. I remember cartoon Pinky and the Brain, and their theme was always, we're taking over the world. What do we do every day, Pinky? We're taking over the world. So
same thing we do every day, Pinky. We're taking over the world, right?
Exactly. We're taking over the world, and I feel pretty amazing. I feel like I am excited because I've dreamed about this particular day for a while now. So my origin story. Where would you want me to start?
Well, how about we start with, what does your relationship, like constellation, where are you today? And then we're going to go back in time.
Oh, okay. That has been, I always say, a road less travel. I'm a poet. I'm an artist. For me, where I am right now, I have my beautiful husband. And you can hear a trepidation in my voice because I'm so excited and I can't hide it. And I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. So He came into my world and introduced me into open relationship format. We've been married for 2 years. We've been together for 4.5 years. Where I am right now, I have my beautiful husband. We live together, and I have 3 male partners that I'm involved. One of them who I've been involved since I first started to explore ethical non-monogamy, open relationship, polyamorous relationship, what do you want to call it? Everybody does it differently. 3 years ago, 3 and some change years ago, we don't see each other as often for various reasons, but when we do, it's amazing. So that's been going on for 3 years. I have another partner who I've been seeing for last, I would say 6 months, 7 months. And I have just started a new relationship almost like 6 weeks ago. Very, very, very brand new and pretty excited. Yeah.
That NRE's coursing through your veins right now, huh?
Oh, totally. Yeah, definitely. If you could only feel it and see it, it's pretty amazing. And we do acknowledge that because it's definitely is a reality of it. And even more things, I'm addicted to it. And I'm trying to tell her, as a poet, I have the right.
The new relationship energy addiction is one of the most powerful addictions I think that you can come across. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a hell of a drug. It is a hell of
Yeah.
a drug.
I'm trying to be aware of it, and I'm trying to really honor it and respect it, and also be aware of it to my core, because I feel like it's important to identify that it's not for me. So there are people who say there's difference on themes of love, and I'm in love or I love. There, I feel for me it's very different. I associate love as being with somebody like my husband, who I've been with him for 4 years. We've been through, I would say, thick and thin by now. NRE can last for almost 2 years. And I don't believe, like, if you did not live with somebody, if you did not smell their socks and see how they are in the real world, in the challenging situations, you really don't know this person. For me, but that's how I do it. I don't know how anybody else is doing it. So I believe that you have to really, truly know the person. To know the person, you really have to be with them in the same room for more than just a couple hours or a day.
Yeah.
And that is love for me. In love, I am in love right now for the last 6 weeks. It's amazing. I don't know where it's going to take me, and I have no expectations, but I still, hope. And I understand that's totally NRE. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun, complicated balance of being aware of it, sort of checking yourself, but also enjoying it, right? I think that's one of the things people are like not necessarily feeling like NRE is a bad thing. Like it can be an amazing thing, and the joy that comes from it, but also keeping in mind that that's what's going on. So it's, kind of staying in reality, but also letting yourself float off into, the utopia every once in a while.
It did not start that way.
Well, that's a good segue. Let's go back in time. Let's see where did non-monogamy enter your life, or if you want to go back further than that, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I just to kind of build on that really quick, I think you kind of said Anthony introduced you to non-monogamy a few years ago, but what did relationships look like before you got introduced to this?
Well, actually, it's not Anthony who introduced me to the open relationship. I have been in a relationship before for 17 years. I have a son who's 25 years of age. As I said, I am not a spring chicken. And I did not have him when I was 16. I was a little older. So the 17 years relationship, I would call it was... I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I explain to people. You have a living room experience with the person who you are with, and you have a bedroom experience, the relationship format. So living room experience for me is, for example, my ex of 17 years, adopted my son, who I have had from my previous marriage. And I actually was raised in a very religious household. I'm Jewish, originally from the USSR, Central Asia area. I came here when I was 18. in my household. The only thing that is expected of women is to get married and start having babies. I did that. And I early on, I realized that, you cannot make anybody happy by even moving countries. Like, so I thought that my ex, who I had my son with, by moving from here to Israel or whatever would make him happy. But if the person is not happy, it doesn't matter where you are. 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't matter what continent you choose to live. If the person is not happy for whatever reason, if they have childhood trauma, it will always shine if they're not working on themselves. So long story short, I met this person of 17 years when I was 25 years of age. My son was 2.5. He and I decided to move in pretty fast. He was 19 years older than I am, and he wanted to have a family. And he's originally he's a 5th generation from German descent. So for my household, for my dad to realize that his daughter is leaving the Judaism and starting a family with somebody who is completely different was very tough. He actually wanted to kick me out of the house. And my mom said, you're kicking her out. I'm going to kick you out first. So it was a very challenging experience to go through for me, because I felt that I was always doing something for somebody else, living my life for somebody else, my religion, my parents, what they wanted from me. And by the age of 25, my favorite saying was, suck my fucking dick. Sorry for my language.
You can say whatever you want. It's fine.
Yes. And my husband, Anthony, always says, you don't have one. I checked. I said, yes, I do. It's a little tiny one. And it does get engorged if you do it right.
Yes.
So he, the person who let's call him A, have been involved for 17 years, introduced us into the open relationship format because we had challenges in the bedroom. So I said, we have a living room experience. And in the living room experience, we had an amazing foundation where we understood what we want for our child, because he originally, within 2.5 years, he adopted my son, and my ex lost all his parental rights because he was never in his life since my son was 11 months old. So we have decided to have a family, and our foundation was very synced in many levels, and we had an amazing living room experience. Our ideas of what it is to have a child, how to raise a child, was synced. The bedroom experience, unfortunately, was not. And I think we all have childhood trauma that we have to work through it. I'm not going to go into depth of why or whatever it is. I can imagine, people can imagine that there's a lot of trauma happens when you are raised in an environment that it's not somewhat positive. Let me put it that way for him. So he actually introduced me to a beautiful book, Ethical Slut, 10 years in our relationship. Yes. And I'm sure everybody knows it, the book, but we can add it to the notes.
Yep.
It's by Darcy Aston and Janet Hardy. Mm-hmm. At that time was one of the few books that are available 10 years ago, or more now, like 13 years ago, whatever. So we actually went in to open relationship. We lasted for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it fell apart because he was so jealous, and there's a fear. He would tell me, okay, you can go and meet the person, you can go and dance, you can drink whatever, and then you can kiss and hug, and you can go to his place, but you can only kiss and hug. And I'm like, what is the whole reason of me doing this if I cannot get laid? Come on. Why are we doing this? So I just said, you know what, stop. I cannot do it. So the way I live through, I have very high libido. Don't know where I got this from. Something to do with genetics. So the way I lived through 17 years of sexless marriage, basically, I had a boyfriend and his name was Jim. And I would go to gym and I would spend hours and hours exercising gym and work myself to the way that I could just come home and crash. And I would do that over and over and over. And that's now I have issues with my knees. But I had an amazing experience of working myself. It worked to some level. Of course, it does not work. There were many nights when I would cry to bed because I was horny, and I did not want to cheat on him, even though I'm not perfect. I did some of that, and it always felt horrible, and I did not feel good about it. And I just did not. I stopped doing that all. I was like, you know what? I'm here for a reason. I think I read The Road Less Traveled by oh my God, I forgot his name.
Robert Frost.
Yes, thank you very much. And he talked about if you choose, there's people can complain about things or accept. And I have decided to accept that I'm here for a reason, and I'm here to raise my son, to keep this family healthy and safe. In regards to knowing that if I'll leave, there will be more than one heart broken. And I did not want to do that again for my son, because he was 11 months old when I split up the first time with my ex, with his birth father. And now he already been like 7, 8, 9 years of age. And I knew there was such a bond between my ex and him. Didn't want to do that with A. So I committed and I stayed. And my son left to go to college. He was 20 years old when I decided to leave my ex of 17 years. Because even though I stayed for another 2 years with him, I felt like nothing was changing. And I got so frustrated one day, I just came over. And I think I always say that I don't have regrets in my life. That one part, I feel the way I left was not smart. However, as you can imagine, my beautiful t-shirt shows a lot that I'm wearing. It's if anybody watched the movie Inside Out 2, I'm wearing a t-shirt with anxiety image. And it's excitement, it's anxiety, it's a lot of different emotions that come into play. Impatient. And I reached that pinnacle with him, and I just came home one day and I said, I'm going to go and fuck that guy right now. I'm out of here. And he's like, stop, we got to go to therapy. And I said, we have been to therapy for 2 years. We have done couple therapy. We have done single therapy. I cannot do therapy anymore. I just want a dick, okay? Sorry for my language again. I'm not sorry for that. So, and what I wish I would have done is just to leave, and say, you know what, let's just separate for a bit and see how it goes. And we'll open up our relationship. You do whatever you want to do, and I'll do whatever I want to do in the perfect world. But this is not a perfect world. And at times you just reach your end of it and you just can't do it anymore. And I feel like I'm hoping he'll forgive me one day. And I know it's been very hard for him. And I would say that my son relationship and his relationship actually had really pronouncedly gotten strong over the last 5 years since I left my ex. And I am so grateful to our son who were there for his father to support him emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. Because I think it's extremely challenging when somebody leaves you of so long and so abruptly. And I'm sorry for that. Can't be perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I will just offer too, right, that throughout the 17 years or close to 20 years that you were together, you were also going through so many things, right? And so that's not to discount the impact on your husband and all of the stuff that he was working through, childhood trauma, whatever it was that you arrive in these places, but you carry that as well. And so too, I feel like coming to the end of that, again, could you have done it more perfectly? I'm sure. And I'm sure there are also lots of ways in there that he could have, and you're both just trying to do the best you can. And there's really not much else we can do.
So Anthony had taught me a very good quote. I'm not sure where he got it from, but it says, we're not aiming for perfection, we're aiming for progress. Mm-hmm. And that definitely changed my life in terms of I am, I think it's got to do something with being artistic. That perfection gene, it just shows up here and there, and I'm learning how to just be in the moment and just embrace it to the fullest and really like breathe rather than getting into my head like there's chess playing constantly. I'm moving pieces 9 times ahead of the game where I am. It can be extremely challenging to slow down, but breath really helps a lot for me. And I just have to keep reminding myself, like, just breathe, just slow down and be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you learn those tools over time. You don't have them all at once.
Yeah, that's a toolbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so coming out of that marriage, how did it go for Pinky coming out of what you've described as a sexless marriage with an incredibly high libido? You're obviously probably ripped beyond belief if you're going to the gym for like 7 hours a day. So like where does life take you after this? Yeah, I can see the guns.
Not that bad. So, I got out of a relationship. We never got married with my ex of 17 years. And I think that's one of the issues that for me, I felt like I didn't belong.
Okay.
I didn't belong in the relationship. I didn't belong in the house. He actually had his house before me. It was an inheritance house, whatever. No, he purchased, but it was through the inheritance. So he never put me on the deed. And I just felt like I didn't feel belong. And that was a problem. And we talked about it. And he really agreed with that. That was a big issue, bigger issue than sex for me. Because where do you belong after 17 years when you cannot say that you owe this place? This place is yours. Why are we doing this? Why are we here anyway? So that was the bigger issue of trust. And I think that's why my relationship with him, opening up relationship, did not work, because we didn't have a proper foundation to build on. Now I'm going to take us where we're going. So
yeah. Really quick, I just want to say I apologize. I missed that you were not married, and I refer to him as your husband and ex-husband. So I missed that detail. So thank you for clarifying.
Marriage is not for everybody, and I'm married now, and I love being married. It's just did not feel right being married to this person, and he agreed with me also. So it's fine. It's perfect. So I had to eat a couple frogs before I met Anthony. And they're frogs for different reasons. And of course, I got laid very nicely. It was amazing. And within a year, I met Anthony, and we met right before New Year's. He probably told you maybe a little bit of the story. I don't know how much he went in.
Yeah, a little bit around that you went to a Christmas, or that he was planning a Christmas or New Year's party, and that you met in that around that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
around
then,
that time.
And then within 3 weeks, he actually had to spill the beans what kind of party he is going to, because I wanted to be his guest +1. And he came over to my house, and he thought that I'll kick him out. He literally just came.
I'm going to back up a little bit. And how did the two of you meet? Remind the listeners who might not remember.
Yeah, we met on a Bumble.
Okay.
Yeah. It was vanilla as it gets.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was extremely vanilla. Like that's just what I knew. And then we normalize it through exposure.
Yeah. So you meet Anthony on the app. You get to know each other for a couple of weeks, but he's planning this party, and you wanted to be his +1, but he's like, I need to figure out what to do, because this is a sex positive party, and we got to talk about this. So he comes over. That's where you left off. And so
and so he thought that I will definitely kick him out. He just came with keys and nothing else. And I think this is the moment. I think for me, I always walk in life. I always have this saying, I'm open and raw. And I feel like it's extremely important to come into a place for me, with that kind of attitude in the relationship, in any kind of relationship. I feel it benefits everybody if you have layers, the layers will come off later on, and then maybe it's not going to work out because you are not true self, your authentic self. So he came into my house and we sat down and he started telling me what kind of party he's going to go out to and actually planning with his other partner. And he's been in a open relationship or a BDSM community for the last 20 years. He's been a single man. And as he keeps talking, my level of anxiety goes higher and higher. And I'm like, you mean 50 Shades of Grey? He's like, take it down. No, I've never drawn blood on anybody. It's not my kind of thing. So I said, okay, you're freaking me out. I'm going to keep you as my friend. Long story short, within a year and a half, 2 years, he became my best friend. So I had to marry him.
That's the rule?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm just curious, Pinky. So you didn't know when he came over that day and when you two met on Bumble, it sounds like you were dating for a little while. Did you know he had other partners, or did you think you were sort of the only one at the time?
No, I have no idea. I did not know what his life was before this conversation. He just told me that he has this party that he's planning with this friend.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what kind of relationship they have, and that was Ava Moore, who they actually got planned the party with. And of course, I did not go to the party. He went, and he actually left earlier than he would have left it if he did not meet Pinky, because he already had some kind of interest in me, and he made an excuse and he left. And on the way back, because it's an hour and a half away from his place where he used to live, we talked. It was a new year, when we're like 1 o'clock in the morning, we're just talking, and it felt so good for me to feel that he did not want to stay and he was honest with me. And when he came into my house and he was telling me this stuff, that I sidetracked. Him being so open and raw with me, I felt so honored. And it was, for me, I've always been open and raw all my life. And in the vanilla world, I felt very isolated. A lot of times people would misunderstand my openness for a move, like sexual move or anything. And it felt so wrong. I'm like, no, it's just me. And now it's funny how I can be open and raw with the right people, right? And be myself. And if it goes sexual, yes, there's no more those barriers that the society puts under you because this is who I am. I love talking about emotions. I don't know if Emma Moore talked about me as the one who is like always pulling the strings and it's like, how do you feel about that? Yeah. She's like, we're not talking about this. I'm like, oh, yes, we do.
Yeah, she referred to you as the emotional one, and she was joking that she's stone-hearted or something like that.
Yes, she has a stone heart and iron pussy.
She left that part out, but yeah.
Yeah, this is how I name her. And hubby's like, no, she does not have an iron pussy. That would not be comfortable.
I'm curious, Pinky, over the year and a half that you were becoming best friends and then end up getting married to Anthony, what did that time look like? Because you're obviously learning about his world, the world of the world of non-monogamy, the world of BDSM, and you've ultimately arrived, right, having multiple partners yourself. But like, it sounds like you kind of had like a year and a half of looking at it, but maybe not exactly experiencing it. I'm curious what that was like for you.
I must give you a compliment to you both because you are excellent narrators. Thank you very much. I think if anybody would ask me to give them an origin story, I would definitely talk about it. But I like the way you coming back and bring it to the focus of the conversation. Thank you. Mm-hmm. One of my love languages giving credit when the credit is earned. Only when the credit is earned.
All right. And we will keep that in mind that you're not faking
Well,
it.
thank you. Yes, thank you.
Definitely. So what you have to say is thank you. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. I'm working on it.
I know. I had to teach my husband because when I first met him, I would give him a compliment and he would just brush it off. And I'll say, stop, look into my eyes and just say thank you. So now he's trained very well about that. He would not take the compliment. He was just like, yeah, it's okay. Like, no. Say thank you. All right. So we have, for the first year and some change, we love cooking together. So we would cook a meal, we would sit down and I would give him homework. And he and I were exclusive for the first year and some months, of our relationship because he felt that he wanted to give it to me, that kind of, affection and recognition. And he came into my world and he said, I will close, everybody. I will still have emotional connection to those women, but I will not be physical with them if you don't want me ever. And I'm an educator. I love therapy. I love psychology. I did a lot of that during my master's level degrees and stuff like that. So in my mind, I told him later on, but that's what was going in my mind. I'm like, okay, you're coming into my life. I don't do BDSM. I don't do kink. You just keep petting me and, and just like keep touching me, kissing me, hugging me, everything sensual. And you're the person who obviously got something out of this world, which I cannot give it to you. So you're coming into my relationship and you're cutting off your food. Sorry, I'm an artist. And now you and I are going to walk into the sunset. I'm like, wait, how are you going to walk if you only have one foot? But that's how I thought. So I decided to dive in deep and get all the kind of books I can to educate myself about opening up relationships. And him giving us that time with no expectation was so important for our building foundation. And that's what I would say my ex of 17 years and I did not have. And that's why we failed. But that's my perception, nobody else's. It's just how I see it. And how Anthony and I have built this foundation for a year and a half. So we would cook together, we would sit down. But before that, I will send him a link to a book, a link to a podcast, your podcast. I said, listen, come home. Don't forget to take notes. I don't care if you're driving. I don't know what you do, but take notes because I'm going to be asking you questions. We're going to dissect that frog, okay? While we're eating dinner. And we've done it over and over and over and over again. And you guys, I did not begin with this, but I think I must say why I'm excited, because you came into my world when I was losing hope, because here I am saying to myself, I'm going to open up relationships. After us being monogamous for a year, we started to open up our relationship a little bit because it was COVID times. But I still, wanted to open up to some level. And I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what I wanted. All I have is him, who has 5 or 6 or 7 women in the world, everywhere, that he's been seeing. He does not see them all the time, but he sees them. And they have relationships. And also Ava has like 5 men that she's built a relationship with over the last 5.5 years that she's been opening up her relationships. And here I am, Pinky. I'm taking over the world. I'm going to have 10 dicks. And I'm going to do it so differently and amazing. And I'm going to have love with everybody, and everybody's going to love me because I'm so irresistible. Blah, blah, blah. And then the reality kicked in. It was so funny. So we talked for a year and some change, and then we started to experiment. And we did not talk about a lot of things. So the first time, how it all started to open up is probably your next question, Finn. After a year and a half of talking, one of my frogs came back. So have been with him for like 4 months. And we didn't have a good closure. Unfortunately, he just disappeared on me. And he came back when Anthony and I have been together already. And I said to Anthony, I said, okay, here's an opportunity. I know the guy. I'm feeling comfortable with him. I trust him to some level. Trust is a problem with somebody disappearing on you.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I didn't have closure with him. Can I go and see him? He's like, go ahead. I said, what are the boundaries? What are the rules? He's like, just do whatever you want. I'm like, wait. Are we wearing condom? He's like, do whatever you want. I'm like, wait. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I did. I went. I came back home, and we didn't live together then. He came over to see me the next day, Anthony, and he's asking me, how did it go with the frog? And I'm like, it's a frog for a reason. I don't want to lose you because of the frog. I didn't do anything, even though it was really hot. He's like, but I wanted you. I said, yes, but I don't want to lose you because I'm not sure if you really, like, truly, honestly understand what I'm about to do. He's like, I know. I was like, are you sure about that? He's like, yes, go. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So the next time when I saw a frog came over to my house and we spent the night together. The next time Anthony and I have seen each other, Anthony is asking me how to go with the frog again. I was like, oh, do you want to see it? Because I recorded it. He was like, oh my God. I'm like, yes, Frog and I used to do that all the time. So that's how it started. The frog is a frog for a reason. We had a couple months and then just the relationship dissolved again. And it was a good experience until it didn't again. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So then I started to date people. The man that I'm with right now, Jay, I've been with him for 3 years and we've been consistently seeing each other, even though there's a span of time sometimes when I don't see him for like 6 months for various reasons, but we still see each other consistently. And he's in an open relationship, but he's a single man. So he's doing whatever he's doing. And he's in the world of polyamorous relationships. So that's really what I was looking for in the beginning. And it's been nice. Not to say it's not up and down because, everybody has issues. And I'm not going to go into depth of what it is with him particular case. But reality is it's not all peachy. With humans.
We all have shit, right? We all bring shit to the table.
Definitely. And some of us have more than others and we have to work hard on it. So then 2 years ago, summertime, 2 years ago, I actually was going on a date in the city. And I usually drive a car and I prepare my parking the night before to where I'm going to park because I don't want to hassle with the parking area in the city. It could be challenging at times. So I pre-park my car. So I drive into the city to have the date, but it was it's in the area. It was an open performance by the pier. So I park my car, I get out of the parking area and I see a beautiful man standing next to the parking area. I said, can you please tell me where this location is? And he's like, you're 15 minutes away. I'm like, huh? 15 minutes by walking? He's like, no, 15 minutes by driving. I'm like, oh my God. So I parked in the wrong parking space and I was already kind of like pressed by time. I said, oh my God. So I running back to the parking area to get my car. And the guy coming right after me, he's like, I'm not working here, but I know those people. If you want me to, I can help you with not paying the parking fee. I said, oh, no. It's already on the app. It's already took the money. It's fine. All I want to do is just get to where I need to go. But the guy's still standing. So I'm like, my car came and he's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go and see a dance performance now. He's like, oh, do you do that often? I'm like, yeah, I love music. I love dance. I'm an artist. So he's looking at me with his puppy eyes and he wants me to give him my number. He looks at his phone. He looks at me and, I don't know how you can feel it. So I said, okay, do you want to have my number? He's like, yes, please. I was like, okay. I just gave a stranger my number on the street. Wow. Okay, whatever. So I gave him my number. I get in the car. I was like, hubby, get me another parking space. I need to go to this place. Blah, blah, blah. So he got me another parking space. I go to the performance. I meet the guy. It did not fit our whatever. After dance performance, we split up. Guess what Pinky does? She has an idea. I I texted the guy who I just gave the number. I have no idea who that is. Are you still in the city? He's like, yes. I said, it's 8:30 at night. Do you want to have dinner? He's like, yes. I was like, okay, hubby, I'm going to this place. It's a dinner. It's humans are going to be there. Don't worry. I'm not alone. I'm not doing anything but dinner. He's like, okay, be safe. And when you get in the car by yourself, let me know when you're going to be coming home. Okay. So I go, I get to the destination. I sit in the restaurant with this guy, stranger, and I put my hands on the table, open the row. Here we go. I tell him, do you see my ring? He said, yeah. I said, I'm married. He's like, it's okay. Like, no. My husband knows where I am. He's like, huh? I was like, yeah. His pet name was Prince Charming. And then unfortunately, Prince Charming turned into a frog.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Well, that's what happens. It's not ever, it's not, so you expect something, but then I'm learning how not to expect anything. And it's hard because you come into a relationship. So for me, I only knew how to do relationship one way.
Yeah.
When my husband and I met, because of my upbringing, and I didn't talk much about it, but I had 3 women in my household and nobody talked to me about getting a period. When I got my period when I was 13, I was at my sister's house, who was 8 years older than me. And I freaked out, and I kind of knew what was happening, but I kind of did not knew. So I ran out of the house, from her house to my friend, to my close girlfriend, who is 2 years older than me. And I ran into her arms and I'm crying. I'm like, I know I'm not dying. I know you talked to me about, but I'm bleeding. And she's like, you'll be fine. So there were 3 women in the household, my grandma, my mom, and my sister, and they never sat down and talked to me about womanhood. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to do the podcast, we have a podcast, 3 Shades of Grey, we're going to talk about it later, is empowering women. I write poems. I'm in process of publishing my first book of poems and my journey in ethical non-monogamy. And the name of the book is about empowerment of women. It's all about breaking the patterns. And so the way when I got into the relationship, when I started to open up relationship, I only knew how to do a relationship one way, is you get in deep and you just like completely embrace it all and just like be in it and, and connect at such a depth. And now after 3 years of doing it, I'm learning that every person's relationship is unique. It's not special. I've learned that somewhere else also. I think it's one of the books that I've read. When you say special, I feel like it takes away that part of uniqueness, because my relationship with you, Finn, would be very unique to you and I. Mm-hmm. Whatever you bring into my relationship, whatever I bring into you, nobody can ever replace you and I. So this whole idea of special, I don't know, I don't like this word special in a relationship. It feels like connotation and kind of like isolation rather than uniqueness. It's just so open and everybody is different. Yeah. So Prince Charming and I had lasted for 6 months. He actually is a parent. He's raising a son on his own. When I met him, his son was, I think, 15. He never got married. His parents are helping him to raise the child. And I think now the kid is 17 or almost going to college, whatever it is. So the way he lived his life is he kept the separate family and women. So when I met him, he had like 3 other women that he was involved. And he was doing his own open relationship format. Ethical, non-ethical. I think it's open relationship. Ethical part comes in, and my husband always talks about it. Every person ethical level is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's ethical for me, you might see as, frankly, everything that we're doing, there's a whole lot of people who think there is nothing ethical about it at all. And we're all just a bunch of sinners who are going to hell. And so, right, yeah, we all, being ethical is really subjective in many ways.
Yes. So, when I told him that I'm married, my husband knows that sorry, I'm here with you here. He said, oh, okay. So how do you do that? So I said, do you want to learn? He's like, yeah. So we went in to start learning. I've been learning myself at the same time while he was learning. So I would listen to podcasts. I would send him a podcast. And this is where my inspiration of writing poems came into play, because I used to write poems in Russia from age 15 to 17. It was also sexual. So my poems, the first book is going to be just about how I opened up, and the second and third book, I have like 500 poems now. It's going to be, it's erotica. It's that's why I'm addicted to NRE, because it's just like I get inspired. Whew. Yeah. So I used to do erotica when I was 15 through 17 in Russia. And then I came here and I completely abandoned language because I felt that I'm never good enough. Living with somebody who was born here and raised of 17 years, my relationship, his dad went to Princeton University, his mom went to Smith College, he went to Berkeley School of Music. It's just like such a world of like knowledge. And me coming into this family, I felt I was never enough. Like I was always, I don't know how to spell. Oh, I don't know English language. It was always a put down, not from the man, but for me. So we all have issues with our image.
Yeah,
so I never,
because English was your second language, so you didn't know
yes,
it nearly as well as all those other people. Yeah.
So I never picked up a pen. I never wrote anything. I plow through my whatever education. I know a lot about art, but writing, I leave it to somebody else. So he inspired writing for me because he actually had a music studio before, and he was adding some songs for other people. And I don't know how we got started to talk about poetry, and then it's just like I got inspired, so I started writing for him. And this frog was really good for inspiration. So he and I were planning on actually having a book together, because he wrote for me also. And it was an amazing project that never come to fruition. But I'm still writing my own story of how I became where I am now. And he's in it, because you cannot take things out of the puzzle, because it's an important piece.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to him for him to coming into my world and opening up my creativity and saying, it's okay. It's never going to be perfect. Let's just aim for progress.
Yeah.
And so we lasted for 6 months. And what happened with him and I is that he and I caught feelings. And he couldn't handle me being with another man. So Jay and I were already dating before he came into play. Prince Charming came into play, and he couldn't handle. Every time I would go to see Jay, he would have tsunami. And he would never tell me, Prince Charming would never tell me not to see Jay. But the way after tsunami, it was just so, he's like, it's so painful. And I was like, you having jealousy issues? He's like, no, it's not jealousy. It's the sharing part, because I have feelings for you. I'm like, well, let's talk about it. Let's dissect the frog. God damn it. Let's talk. Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
So we separated, and that was very hard. And my husband and I would say, if anybody would ask me how to do it in a better way, I would say we've talked a lot about with my ex, what if, but we have not talked about what if you fall in love, because things come into play and the relationship go one way, and then things occur and you don't predict it. But if you actually sit down and talk about it with whoever you are choosing to open up your relationship, what if you fall in love? How do you go around doing that? There is no script for us to read it off and say, this is what you do, A, B, C, and D. No. So what my husband was amazing about it, he was the one who was scraping me off the floor when I was crying for another man. I mean, how much power do you have to have as a man to feel that your woman who you love, who you married, who you call your wife, is crying for somebody else who does not deserve her tears? He's not showing up the way he needed to show up, this man. And here you are as a man trying to heal her, and embrace her. And it was just so powerful for me. And I'm forever grateful to both of them, to Ava more and my beautiful husband, for being there for me while I was really struggling because I didn't know how to do it. How do you actually love more than one person?
Yeah.
And what if the other person is not able to walk that walk, even though he tried? Prince Charming tried. He literally is like, I am here every day. When we were going through tsunami, he was like, I'm here. And then he just couldn't anymore. And I totally respect that of him coming to a table and saying, you know what? I've tried, but I cannot. I really see this, my relationship with a woman. He actually wanted to have a triad with just my husband, him and I. And I did not want to have any more golden cages, because I've lived in a golden cage all my life. And I felt like I was losing myself again. Just because somebody else is putting that pressure on me, I didn't want to lose myself, because I feel it's important. I worked so hard to be here with my husband, being authentic me. And here is another man telling me that he's uncomfortable. And now I have to bend down because he's not comfortable. Because I was totally fine with him going and doing whatever he wants to do with other women. Because I have so much compassion for my husband and for anybody who I love, to know that I don't have to cut off your wings so you can still fly and do whatever you want. But then you're going to come back to me just because you have this freedom and you want to be with me, not because I'm forcing you to stay with me. Two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Easy
Sorry.
stuff.
Right.
No,
No.
it's amazing.
I appreciate everything that you've shared.
Yeah, Pinky. And I'm curious. I mean, thank you for taking us through so much of your story. I mean, and at the same time, I think it's probably just the tip of the iceberg of everything you've experienced. And I think a question that kind of like keeps coming up for me is just maybe like, what have you learned about yourself, or how have you seen yourself kind of grow in the last couple of years that you've been doing this? Like, you've had some adventures, you've tried a lot of random fun stuff, and also you came out of, like you said, 17 or 20 years of there's only one way to do things, and now you're sort of seeing that there's a whole lot of different ways to do things. And I'm curious what you've learned about yourself through this.
I've learned so much, and I would say that the one aspect that anybody who is on your podcast, or anybody comes to our podcast, talks about what they've learned on being in an open relationship, is being a better communicator. It is so vividly shown in my personal relationship with anybody who I connect with, or my professional relationship at my job, where I'm more empathetic and more willing to engage on a different level, where I used to. Listening is a skill, and I'm a therapist. As a therapist, I've been taught how to listen, active listening, but there's sometimes feelings that get into play and all those beautiful theories that you've been taught in therapy or through your work, whatever, goes out of the window, and you're like, oh my God. So communication is vital. And how to, like, now I'm getting to know somebody, I would not be asking the same questions I've been asking 3 years ago. Like, I used to try to put people in the boxes. So how often we're going to see each other? What is your level of comfort? I mean, yes, I want to talk about those things with a person who I getting to know freshly into a new relationship, but I would not be so, let me put you in a box. I need to see what's going to be tomorrow. Oh my God, I have anxiety.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is it going to work? I have no idea if it's going to work. All I want to do is to be in the moment, to be present, and to communicate openly about, where do you want to meet me and how can I meet you? And let's just take it easy. Like, before, I would just stress about this stuff. Like, oh my God, he didn't text me. He didn't let me know. And now I'm like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And even though I still have anxiety, but it's how do I go around acting on it? It's one of those things that I would say that I've learned. There's more that I've learned. Communication is one of them. It's the huge one. telling people, like when I met my husband, I would used to hide under the sheets, literally. He would go down on me and he'll tell me, how do you like it? And I'm like, whatever you do is amazing. He was not amazing. He was down there. I'm like, oh my fucking God, he's down there. So I would hide under the sheets and he like, stop doing this. Tell me what you like. I'm like, I don't know. Hasn't been happening that often, so I don't know. But now, like gradually, and I would always think about, I'm taking too long. I'm always, is your elbow tired? Do you need a pillow? He's like, stop worrying about me. Get out of your head and just enjoy the ride. I'm like, but you stop. Okay. I'm taking too long. No. Who said that? Relax. I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So talking through it and learning, and him being an amazing teacher, educating me about that there's a time when to give and there's a time when to receive. As a woman, it's pretty amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I've learned.
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful. And it is, I mean, yeah, there's so much there. We could dive into so much, but that'll be for part 2 another time.
Yes.
Just catching myself. I'm like, yeah. I want to make sure that, well, first of all, Pinky, like, thank you so much. And for everything you've shared. I want to make sure that we get a chance to talk a little bit about your podcast. And I also have another question for you, or maybe a couple of them after. So I'd love for you. I know that Anthony and Ava have talked about the podcast, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective and what you'd like to share.
Okay. So our theme, I would say, is Pinky Made Me. And the way it was born, when we first time started to record, I asked Ava a question: what inspired you? What brought you here? And she looked at me and she's like, Pinky made me. It's not as funny now, but when we first recorded it, and this first recording, unfortunately, could not be saved because we had gone through, as a podcaster, so you would understand, we had gone through so many pitfalls before we arrived to an area where we're like, oh, we can put that out. But that moment defined our podcast. So we were in New Orleans last week for Naughty New Orleans. And we made our t-shirts and it says, I'm Pinky. And his t-shirt says, Pinky made me. Her t-shirt says, Pinky made me. And our podcast is 3 Shades of Grey. So the idea of a podcast originally was born a year and a half ago, more now, when we first sat down, when Anthony introduced me to Ava, and we started to have, within the 2-3 months after, I just knew that she exists, and we just talked very briefly, hi and bye. I called Ava and I said, do you want to take him out for dinner for his birthday? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we took him out, and after that, we never stopped talking. We talked like a day, 2-3 times a day. I text her, call her, whatever. So we became extremely emotionally involved. We're not physically involved, even though we tried. But she's not much into women, and I am occasional. Like I'm a bi-curious. I've been with women and I love women, but it's not my primary goal. I love men. So we are he's the base, and Ava and I are the branches, and she involved with him physically and emotionally, and I'm involved with him physically and emotionally, and she and I are involved with each other emotionally and spiritually. It's been an amazing journey. We've been doing a lot of different things, and podcast has been born out of my desire to help out women. Because when I first started it, as I told you guys, you were the driving force. And for me, after a couple months of us engaged with Ava more, I told them both, I said, we are going to be on this podcast one day, okay? We are going to be having our own podcast one day. And they said, oh, yeah, you're crazy. I said, don't you know me? I'm crazy. But then gradually, half a year later or 8 months into it, our deeper relationship, they came back to me like, we're going to do it. I'm like, what? What about being outed? You talked about this part where you both were afraid. We'll cross the bridge when it comes to it. I'm like, oh my God, just come on, let's do it. So it's took a while to, we start talking about it this past summer, and we released our first episode of February 14 of this year for Valentine's Day. And when they told me it's going to take 6 months to actually put it out, I'm like, you crazy. It's supposed to be done yesterday. Everything with me is supposed to be done yesterday. And they're like, no, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, okay. So, and then I realized when I started to do it, how much work does it take
Yeah.
to do anything quality like. And your podcast is amazing, and most of the things that I was talking about in terms of quality, in terms of content creation, in terms of your dedication and your commitment, because I feel like it takes so much energy and commitment to sit down and do something like that. It's not doing it by myself with 2 other people. You have to be really committed to this, and the commitment comes. Some people come to me like, oh, it's you're thinking about finances, money. I'm like, money is nothing to do with that. It's all about giving back to a community. I want to support others. How when I came into this world, and how you guys have helped me to normalize that through exposure. Your words, I'm not taking it. Totally your words, but I want to highlight it because this is how I explain to others. How do you do it? It's you're normalizing through exposure. This is the only way. You do anything new, anything fear-based, because I wanted to talk about one more thing. I think people have fantasized that world of open relationship that I can fuck anything and everybody. And the idea of it, like it's freedom. And I always say freedom comes with responsibility. When I first started to do this, I didn't know where I'm going to go and how it's going to grow. And now I have a better idea of what it is to take to be in a relationship with somebody and what kind of relationship I wanted to be in. So for me, my husband more in like used to be a single man in a lifestyle. So he would go to big parties, big events. And I'm not sure if any of them talked about it. I freak out in any of those events, like being a naughty for me. I would just go and observe, and I run for the door. I get overwhelmed from that. The idea of being with so many people at the same time, I can't function. I lose breath, and anxiety comes into play. So I leave for the air, and Anthony knows that. So we have an agreement. If anytime I freak out and he's about to actually enter a woman and I freak out, if he sees me and if I come to him and tell him that I need to leave, he'll just pick up and go. He's like, I'm sorry, my wife needs me right now. So that takes a lot of courage for a man to have a priority as me being his wife, to know that and it's not easy. It's extremely challenging. I don't want to freak out, but I cannot help it. And he's so good about it. He's always telling me, he's like, it's totally okay. You don't need to be where I am or where Ava is. She goes into the first party and she has like a orgy, and the 5 men and it's not for everybody. It's okay. You do you. So the way I do it, I'm more of polyamorous relationship, female goddess, where I connect with a woman, with a man 1-to-1. I build on it. I build trust. I build communication, and I feel comfortable, and then I can relax. And when I can relax, I can be a mermaid. And if anybody does not know what mermaid is a female. Every female can actually squirt. It's all about techniques. So, long story short, understanding that it's not an easy journey. And when we first started doing this, when I would send Andy to see Ava more, I would crack myself to bed because I had abandonment issues that I had to work through. And I didn't tell them that. I had to work through my discomfort to get comfortable for the first 6 months. And I would make dates with them. I would like, okay, Anthony, you need to go and see Ava. Bye. And I would work through my discomfort. And then within 6 months, I told them that I had been having issues with that abandonment. And the way we heal that, all three of us, is personally for hubby to come home and tell me that I'm always going to come home, and home is where you are. And I don't have receipt. I cannot return you back to a store. So you and I are going to be forever. And that was so meaningful to me. And that is how the foundation got even stronger, by explaining that it's okay to have jealousy or abandonment issues as a child. I have childhood trauma, like all of us have. And how do you go around pulling up the toolbox, and how do you work through the discomfort? It's not all that easy when you're having more than one person in a relationship. When you have one person, I've been in it, it can get very easy because you can just push all that discomfort or whatever under the carpet and forget about it and just concentrate on something else, like raising a child, or doing whatever you like, career, whatever. But when you have more than one person, you're forced, or I would say in my case, I'm encouraged to communicate better, to come to a table and say, listen, this is not comfortable for me. I'm having a trouble. I'm not a jealous person, but I know jealousy can come up anytime. Can we talk about it? So yeah, it's not all peachy all the time. I mean, but it's worth, okay? It's worth the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, again, Pinky, just thank you for sharing and diving into some of these pieces, and just very grateful for you sharing your journey with us. And I can tell, and I think people listening can tell, like, your excitement, and also that, like you said, it's not perfect, but it's worth it. It's worth it for you, and you're figuring out, you're healing pieces of yourself. You're working through abandonment stuff. You're like, that we're all always learning, and this is sort of the path that you've chosen to learn on right now, and it's pretty amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm curious too, and I know this could be another conversation, but I want to just touch on it, of how you've navigated, I guess this has been a pretty big shift in your life over the last several years. And how have you navigated that? And how's it gone, like, being open with other people that are in your life?
Yeah, I knew it's coming. I open and raw. So I, of course, in my work place, I don't, except I have two of my close girlfriends from my job, and they know what I'm involved with. What for me, okay, let me start from the beginning. For me, it was important, the people that are around me, for me to let them know. And it's gradation levels.
Yeah.
For my best friends, I needed them to know, because if you're my best friend and you cannot understand and support me in this endeavor, what kind of friend are you to me? If you think that I'm less just because I live my life that way, I'm not asking you how you live. I'm not judging you by how you live your life, but I hope you can accept me as I am, because I'm a rainbow of colors. I'm creative. I'm artistic. I love everything about people. So I have opened up to my best friends within 6 months, and they were all amazing about it. My family did not tell it to my parents. They don't need to know. They're very old fashioned, and I don't think they can understand that, which is totally fine. My sister knows. I have two brothers and a sister. My brothers do not know. Maybe one day. My sister knows. All of my mom has 10 grandchildren, and the grandchildren are all very close to me, and they know. And they are like in their mid-20s, so no children beyond age 25. I have a bracket. my son is 25. He kind of knew that a little earlier, because we have had really raised him in an open kind of format. And he was very welcoming about it and very excited about it. So it was really nice. So yeah, I'm pretty much open with anybody who is my best kind of circle.
Yeah.
And some of my family members. But other than that, we're still closed for different reasons. As for Anthony and Ava, they have children, younger children, and they're not ready for it. Professionally speaking, I'm not ready for it either. I'm hoping within a couple of years, when I'll say, I'm I'm firing my boss. Thank you very much. I'll be able to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But right now, we work within our limits.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, that all makes a lot of sense. So I appreciate you touching on that. And as we've said, I know we could ask you a million more questions, but we really, and for the sake of time, we will wrap it up and just know
Yes.
that this is not our last time talking, and we'll definitely have more conversations. But thank you again for everything that you shared, and a reminder that links to your podcasts will be in the show notes as well. Is there any other questions you had?
No, not at all. Other than just again saying thank you and wishing you the best on what comes your way and where you go with this. Because I guess I have this feeling that like you're just starting to blossom, and even though it's been a few years, I feel like there's a lot of energy still here a lot still to come, perhaps.
Yes. Podcast is 3 Shades of Grey. I have my limited poems that I'm working on the book, and I cannot really publish a lot on Instagram or whatever. But it's a poly/poet. If anybody is interested to read some of it. So I also take photography. So I combine my mediums of poems and photography combined. So that's where my book is going to come into life. Because when COVID came into town, I'm a healthcare worker and I've seen a lot of destruction and death. So I started to reach out for something that it's living. So I started to take photography of flowers. So I have like 3.5 years of flowers on Instagram. So I was like, what I can do with that? Okay. So yeah. And thank you so much for having me here. I could have been bubbled a lot. Because I'm so excited and I can't hide it. Thank you so much for doing that hard work of yours and inspiring people like me who are just starting to crawl, and you're already running a marathon.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Sometimes we're crawling a marathon.
Yes.
As long as we're moving forward, that's the beauty of it. I just want to say thank you so much for doing all you have been doing. Every sweat, every whatever come your way, discomfort, whatever it is happening with you guys, it's definitely had been working for, I believe, me and more than just me in the world, to support people like us who are thinking a little more of openness and creativity and acceptance of diversity of how we are people are in the world we live in, which is acceptance of how different we all are and how wonderful it is to just be us and not to pretend.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Pinky.
Yes. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your night.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Whew.
And we're back.
We are back.
Riding the ride with Pinky.
Thank you so much, Pinky, for everything you shared and coming on and just being so vulnerable and open with us. It was a lovely conversation, and we really appreciate all the time that you spent with us. And a reminder to anyone listening, go over to our podcast page on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can find links to their podcast, 3 Shades of Grey, over there. Go and listen, check it out.
And a quick reminder as well that tomorrow, if you're looking for something to do in the evening, which we know you are, you're going to want to check out our virtual meet and greet. It is, again, September 26th.
Yes.
Virtual meet and greet / virtual speed friending. We're still phasing in the new name.
Yes.
So yeah, formerly known as. So yeah, check that out. We'd love to have you join us. And let's see, what do we got next week?
There will be another virtual speed friending event in October.
There is. And there'll be one in November, and there'll be one in December, and January, February, March, April, all the way up until the summer.
Yes.
Which is just around the corner.
Yeah.
Summer's just around the corner is basically what just happened.
Yes.
And then, before that all...
next week.
I have another thing to tell you.
Actually, this Friday.
You forgot about Friday.
I remembered.
Forgot about Friday.
We just remembered.
We all forgot about Friday.
This Friday, that would be September 27th, 2024. We have another episode for you.
Yeah, we've got our Ask Us Anything episode, the 1-year anniversary of me, Shay, and I doing these. This will be the 12th one.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! We are super stoked. It's a it's a great episode, I believe, and would love to have you come check it out. Also, a reminder that we do these every month. So if you have questions for us, you can send those in as a voicemail, or if you want to send it in as a written email, we would love to have you do that. Next month, we actually have a special guest. So our special guest next month is coming at us from One Condoms, our amazing friend Mila. She's been on the show a few times. We're excited to have her back, and we're going to be talking about your condom questions. So if you have condom questions for us, this is the best way to get them answered.
Yes, send them in. Send them, and you can go to our website and go under Ask Us Anything and send us questions.
All right. With that, we will see you next week.
Next week, we bring Anthony, Ava, and Pinky together, all back on the podcast to hear about their dynamic, and all of them talk at the same time.
Let's do it.
Well, maybe not at the same time, but
Sometimes they do.
We have a conversation with all three of them. The five of us have a wonderful conversation. So come back and listen next week.
We'll see you then.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.